Hi, everybody. Now, as you know, tomorrow and Thursday are parent-teacher conferences. And so some of you have been to trainings or had meetings about how to lead a successful parent-teacher conference, and some of you haven't. And so I thought I would give you a slideshow and a basic overview of what to do at parent-teacher conferences, just to help you feel a little bit more prepared. The information in this presentation is mostly coming from my life experience. Okay. Before the conference, here are the tips. Contact the parent. Most of you do that through newsletters or Remind or some type of contacting situation. Even if the school sends out an email or a message, it's still more personal to get an invitation from the teacher. Obviously, you prepare your grade sheets and your comments and your graphs and your charts, but don't forget about preparing the classroom environment so things look friendly, inviting, clean, orderly, and organized when the parents come in. When I was growing up, my mother used to take everything that was clutter and put it in the bathtub and shut the curtain. So this is a decluttering type opportunity. Not that anyone has clutter. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. During the conference, be positive, welcoming, and personal. Introduce yourself and shake hands with parents if you feel that's in your comfort zone, but sometimes people are meeting you for the first time, and it is important to remember to introduce yourself. Keep track of time. Be respectful of time during the conference. If things seem to be going too long, just say, I'd like to discuss this with you further. Can we make another appointment? During the conference, try to use the charts and the grade sheets and the points and all those things to accomplish 3 basic goals. Goal number 1, try to provide insight about the child that the parent may not be able to interpret from the data alone. So, for example, does my child have aptitude in science? Does my child seem to like to read? Is my kid a good math thinker? Points on the grade sheet don't necessarily tell me that stuff. I want to know and understand what I cannot just read off of a sheet for myself, okay? Tell me what future careers you see for my child. Tell me what courses my kid should plan to take on in the future. Okay, that's stuff I can't read off of a report card. Demonstrate that you have knowledge of my child. Do you know her personality? Do you understand his hobbies? What are that child's goals? Do you know? Can you communicate that? Show that you've been paying attention to the child all this time, these 9 weeks that you've had them. Use constructive feedback. And so sometimes you have to deliver bad news gently. Okay, sometimes things are not going very well because of behavior, because of grades or whatever. But you don't want to lead your meeting like that. Welcome, good evening, your kid is terrible. No, trust me, I've tried it, it's terrible, it will end in tears. Okay, so I like this idea of the sandwich. Start off with something positive, start off with that knowledge and insight, and then you transition to the bad news. However, and then you give what needs to be worked on, what areas we have for growth, keeping it in a growth mindset, and then you end again with some positive statements about the future. Don't rehash the past over and over again, especially if you've already contacted the parent about issues in the past. Try to keep it focused on the future, keep it focused on the positive. Okay, so positive, the bad news, and then the positive again. After the conference, use some follow-up. Say thank you, maybe send a handwritten note just to reinforce that you appreciate the parent's time. Now there's some what not to do slides, and I'm going to try to go over them quickly, and then I'll just attach them in this email, and you can read them if you want to, okay? Here's a couple of what nots to do's. Don't compare siblings. Yes, when I had your other child, she was such an angel. What happened? Although it might be tempting, it's generally not helpful. Try not to offer unsolicited parenting advice. Okay, so that one's kind of complicated because for little kids, some of the behavior management issues, they take place at home too. But things like your daughter's dating a jerk, probably not in the scope of your of what you need to be talking about. So try to stick to your area of expertise and don't offer unsolicited parenting advice. P.S. I learned that one the hard way. Don't insult the parent, the student, other students, or the family situation. Okay, so sometimes social situations come up that involve other children. It's best to just keep the focus on one kid and not risk getting into the gray, murky waters of how bad the other kids are. Keep in mind that some of these children are coming from a poverty situation. So if you say things like, little Johnny never has his poster board, well, that's because little Johnny doesn't have any money. So just keep in mind that there are parents from poverty that you'll be meeting with this week. And the last point here kind of goes to a long backstory. I'll tell you sometime in person if you're ever interested. But it's like this: never speak bad about the family. So if a parent starts griping about the principal or the superintendent or the school board, you do not engage. Do not engage. Do not engage. If the parent starts complaining about another teacher that the child had in the past or that the child has this year, if it's an older child, do not engage. Do not engage. Do not jump on the negativity bandwagon. So instead you do this. Okay, you might encounter an angry parent. The rest of these slides are generally what to do if you get an angry parent. And this is not a very common thing, so I'm not even going to talk about them. I'll just send these slides and you can read that part if you want to. But just know that sometimes anger, well, I think all the time anger, is actually the tip of an iceberg that goes to a whole lot of other issues that you can't see that are underlying. Okay, so if you do get an angry parent, try to be empathetic and try to be a good listener. Okay. There's a lot more information here, but Mr. Anderson said my videos are too long, so I'm just going to cut it off and tell you everything's going to be fine. You're going to have a great time meeting all these parents, but just keep in mind some of the tips that are in this video. Okay. Have a good time.